Hey, Detroit. I know just the perfect match. And who would be the best fit for your vacant offensive coordinator position? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the Bears Den, an NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I'm your host, Alex. And here today, I was going to discuss the divisional round games, but boy, do we have big news. The Chicago Bears have their head coach, and it is none other than former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, the candidate that many people around Chicago and around NFL media wanted the Bears to hire. I mean, this is just a home run job by Ryan Poles and by Kevin Warren. And even George McCaskey will get some of my credit because I know that he took part in these interviews and this hiring process. This is what made sense. To me, I made the video the other day. It was between Ben Johnson and Mike McCarthy. It had to be one of those two candidates. And look, I said it. If you missed that video, go check it out. I gave the pros and cons to both. But I had mentioned in that video, my concerns with Ben Johnson would just really be the lack of head coaching experience, right? And while I still have that concern, and I will have that concern until he proves me otherwise, I think that when you have an elite talent at quarterback in Caleb Williams, who will be going into his second year, you have to not just settle for a pretty good offensive mind in Mike McCarthy, right? You have to go get who is the clear and best offensive mind available, and that was Ben Johnson. And we see it, right? I have these stats from Adam Schefter, who we just posted these a little bit ago, and I'll just read it to you guys. In 3 seasons with Ben Johnson as the Lions offensive coordinator, the Lions ranked top 5 in scoring all 3 years, 5th in 2022 and 2023, and they had the number 1 scoring offense in 2024. Lions led the NFL in scoring this season. Only the 49ers had more 20-yard plays over the last 3 seasons than the Lions. And the Lions' 28.2 offensive points per game on average from 2022 to 2024 were the most in the NFL. So under Ben Johnson, the Lions had the best offense statistically throughout his tenure as offensive coordinator. Excuse me. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited, and it was really a masterclass done by Poles. It was clear that he was kind of just extending the coaching search, hiring as many people as, or interviewing as many people as possible, rather, to draw out the search to give time for Detroit to lose. And lucky for us, Detroit went down in their first playoff game this year, right? So this is a big hire, and it's a big hire for a lot of reasons. You get an offensive mind. So we now, as Bears fans, don't have to worry about if the offense hums next year or the year after that, that there's a world where we lose our offensive coach. He's our head coach. He's paired with our sophomore quarterback, Caleb Williams. And one of the more kind of underrated factors is that you just took a huge slash at the Lions, because the Lions are now without an offensive coordinator. So next year, depending on who they hire, they could look completely different. They could look much worse, right? So it's a big hit. And we expect Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, to also get hired. So it's going to be a massive hit. The Lions are going to be a very different team next year, and I would be very shocked if they are anywhere near as dominant as they were these past couple years. And if they are, then Dan Campbell deserves the biggest contract in the history of the NFL for a head coach. But this was a big hire. This was a home run hire. And the consensus around the league is starting to find its way into Hallis Hall. It always seemed like the Bears were kind of going against the current, right? Always making their own decisions. They were going to outsmart everyone. But this is the second big decision in the last calendar year that the Bears seem to have followed the consensus on. Right, draft time last year, it was the consensus that Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the draft, that he was the number 1 pick, that the Bears had to take him. And there was always part of me that was fearful that the Bears weren't going to take him, that they were going to try and, maybe take a chance on Drake May or Penix or whoever, right? They're going to just take a swing because they know more than everyone else, when in reality they don't. But they followed the consensus. They did it. And I would argue that it worked out, right? Caleb Williams is a great quarterback. He had great numbers this year in a dumpster fire circus of a season, right? So that worked out. And the consensus this year in this hiring cycle was that Ben Johnson is the best offensive mind. Ben Johnson is the number one top candidate to be a head coach. And I thought there's no chance that the Bears are going to do it, right? They're going to have to hire their guy. Maybe they're going to hire Joe Brady, who shares the same agent as Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, much to the likes of how they hired Matt Eberflus, back in 2022. But they followed the consensus. They actually did the right thing. And so maybe times are changing. And I get it. There's some concerns about Ben Johnson. Hasn't been a head coach. Is he going to be able to design an offense with a weaker offensive line here in Chicago? What's going to happen with the roster, so on and so forth? Caleb needs to learn a new offense. I get it. But as my phone's getting blown up by a bunch of people seeing the news. If Tom Brady was trying super hard to get Ben Johnson in the building and be the head coach for the Raiders, something tells me that he's going to be a good coach, right? Because out of all the media's opinions, all the people out there, their opinions, Tom Brady is the one whose opinion I trust the most personally, right? That guy knows football. He's the best player ever. So if he thinks Ben Johnson's going to be the good, the best coach for his team that he has minority ownership in the Raiders, yeah, I think the Bears hired the right guy. Would I have been happy with Mike McCarthy? Yes. Would I have even been happy with Cliff Kingsbury after we've seen what he's done in the playoffs? Yes. But really, for the last 2 months, it felt like Ben Johnson. With all the reports from last year that he wanted the Bears job, but the Bears decided to keep Eberflus, it seemed like this was meant to be. It seemed like everything that happened was meant to happen. The Bears were meant to stick with Eberflus one more year, right? The Lions were meant to run it back one more time with Ben Johnson to see if they could get it done, and they couldn't. But this was meant to happen. Now, would I have liked it to happen a year earlier in Caleb's rookie year? Yes, of course. We all would have liked that. But to me, it feels like the Bears finally made the right decision. And this would mark 2 correct decisions in a row. So if I'm the Bears, I have the head coach. It's being discussed that it looks like Dennis Allen is going to be the Bears defensive coordinator, which on first read scared me, but then I looked into his stats and he's actually a pretty great defensive coordinator. There's been multiple seasons under Dennis Allen when he was DC that the Saints were top 5 in defense, top 5 in sacks. Just maybe wasn't cut out to be a head coach. I think that will be pretty good, right? It's going to be a good switch up for the defense. All the money this offseason, all the draft capital, it better go to the lines on both sides of the ball. We better get 2 new guards in here. We better sign a center if we can, right? Coleman Shelton, I'm not running it back with Coleman Shelton, right? We have Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I'm not running it back with Coleman Shelton. So let's get a center in here that can actually play. Let's get 2 new guards. I'm okay personally with running it back with Braxton Jones, but I know many people want him gone. Perhaps the Bears could take Calvin Banks Jr. With the pick in the first round if he's there. He could play left tackle, could be huge, right? We need a strong stud left tackle who's going to protect Caleb's blind side. But man, the money and the draft picks better go to the line on both sides of the ball. We need more pass rush, right? Dennis Allen's going to want pass rush. He had Cameron Jordan in New Orleans, right? Maybe Chase Young wants to come be a Bear. Maybe he liked playing for Dennis Allen in New Orleans and wants to come be here and can reunite opposite of Montez Sweat for the right price. Could be decent, right? But the Bears have options now. They got a lot of money in cap space. They can swing in free agency. I would like to see them bring Keenan Allen back. If they don't, I would like to see them sign another receiver. Build up the offensive line. Let's get another back in here, whether we draft one in the second or third round or we sign, a good second back. Because I think Roschon Johnson's a good back, but he's not necessarily what we need. But potentially Ben Johnson will want him. And let's continue to build up the roster. We have the quarterback. I hope we have the coach. It looks like we do. And this is exciting times for the Bears. This reminds me of the Matt Nagy hire, right? Back when it was the honeymoon phase and you know, we have a second-year quarterback who showed promise in his first year, and we're bringing in the hottest offensive mind to be our head coach. In 2018, the Bears won 12 games. Can this Bears team win 12 games next year? I mean, they were close to winning 10 games this year, right? All those one-score games that the Bears could have won those with good coaching, right? Who knows, right? But I think, another aspect is he's going to be a first-time head coach, and there's concern with that. But if he does bring in Dennis Allen as his defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen has had head coaching experience the last couple years in New Orleans, so he'll be able to help. So I like what's happening. I like what's forming in Chicago. The Bears got stronger today, and the Lions got weaker. That's good. We know that Minnesota is going to stumble over their own feet, right? And if they run with JJ McCarthy this year, there's going to be ups and downs. We know Green Bay is always in their own way. If the Lions lose Aaron Glenn too, this division is wide open next year. Any of these teams can take it. And I would have to think that the Bears would maybe be favorites for the division, if not second. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Important months are ahead for the Bears. They got the head coach. We need to see what happens with the rest of the staff. I look forward to the press conference. And then free agency is going to be crucial. Free agency is going to be massive. With this hire, Ryan Poles saves his job for years. I would think he at least gets 2 more years. You better upgrade this offensive line. All the focus has to go to the offensive line this year. No excuses. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did the Bears get it right? Are you happy with the Ben Johnson hire? Are you not happy with it? Exciting times ahead. I'm excited. I appreciate you guys listening. As always, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me grow the channel. I've seen the sub count going up lately. I appreciate all of your guys' support. It really means the world to me. I love doing this. So thank you so much. Exciting times are ahead. It's 2025. It's a new year. The Bears are undefeated so far this year. They hired the right guy at offensive coach, or head coach, excuse me. We have an offensive coach. Let's go. Bear down. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video where I break down the divisional games. Have a good one.